For those who don't know, my name is Tina Miller, and I have 4 beautiful children: Rainy Violet, Flaming Wolf Romello, Dancing Fox Annie, and Morning Star Dolly. And I'm currently enrolled at Okanagan College in the Business Administration degree program, focusing on marketing communications. I'm not one who enjoys having all eyes on me. However, today is a very important day. Therefore, I will share my thoughts and feelings with you. I've been asked repeatedly why the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women event is important to me. And up until now, I've given a fairly detached response. And that is, my mother had spent the last 10 plus years of her life on East Hastings. And when I lived in Vancouver, I would visit her every day. And one of her friends that I saw often became one of Robert Pickton's victims. However, what most people aren't aware of, and that I have refused to acknowledge openly and publicly, is that I'm not only a witness to violence and abuse against women, I have also experienced it. In the 36 years I have been alive, violence and abuse against my mother, women, and myself has been a cruel and consistent reality. And this has got to stop. The psychological and emotional trauma that is a result of such behavior is not only extremely damaging, but also devastating. Not only for my mother, the other women, and myself who have and still do endure these acts, but for those around us, for those people that we love, and for those people that love us. After years of violence and abuse, one learns to shut down and detach. On the inside, we silently scream for the love and concern that has been denied to us over and over again. Yet on the outside, we do the exact opposite of what is in our heart, out of fear of more pain. The vicious cycle of violence and abuse against women needs to stop. The after effect of such behavior only breeds another cycle, a cycle of indifference. We must honor and respect our women. Women are the heartbeat of our drums. Women are the pulse of the earth. Women are the value that love creates. We must love our women and love one another. We must heal in order to prevent continued violence and abuse against our women. Let us honor our 164 still missing Indigenous women, and let us remember the 1,017 murdered Indigenous women. Let us love, let us respect, let us heal, and let us begin the prevention of continued violence against women. Now I'd like to share a paper I wrote in the fall of 2014. I rarely want to share my thoughts, feelings, or papers that I have written. However, I'm very proud of this paper and want to share it with the world. I would first like to thank Sharon Josephson for the creative freedom I was permitted when I was writing this paper. And while this paper is in part my story, it is also many other women's story. She is within her silent and comfortable space, where she tries as often as possible to be on the edge of all the activity that unfolds around her, a result of trauma experienced in childhood, the safest place for her to be positioned in a way that will enable her to see all that is happening around her, without a sound, doing what she has learned to do, and that is to stare and observe the others who fill the room with her, because she has to get a solid sense of who they are as people. The only way to do this is to witness how they interact and speak with one another, demonstrating one form of self-preservation by a wounded and scarred person that is an effect of a life that has been less than kind at times. wondering if any of them know that out of all of us in the room, according to statistics, half of the women in Canada have experienced at least one incident of physical or sexual violence since the age of 16. Have they known one of these women intimately, as a friend, or are they just another woman that they see during the course of their day? She wordlessly whispers, we all have or have had mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers, and daughters immediately involved within our lives and loved dearly, and would fiercely protect from any harm. She mutely contemplates whether or not they know that in a 2009 Canadian National Survey, women reported 460,000 incidences of sexual assault in just 1 year. Only about 10% of all sexual assaults are reported to police. When it comes to sexual assault, women are frequently not believed, blamed for being assaulted, or subjected to callous or insensitive treatment when the police fail to take evidence or when their cases are dropped arbitrarily. The women are left feeling alone and isolated and unworthy and helpless and hopeless, feelings women should not feel while living their life. She hopes they realize that their mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers and daughters have more likely than not experienced those feelings from a sexual assault or act of physical violence at one point in their lives. She grasps the following question: would they continue to permit such acts to transpire if they knew that it was their mother, aunt, sister, grandmother, or great-grandmother, or daughter? And she doesn't believe they would. She thinks that if they understood just how close to home these acts were for many families, and if they were only spoken of more often, critically and rebelliously and full of dignified rage at such injustices of humans harming other humans. She believes that progress would be made in making the lives of these women and children much more peaceful, because everyone deserves to live a life full of more self-worth, self-confidence, self-belief, and self-esteem. She weighs the possibilities and simultaneously is filled with curiosity and questions if they are aware that on average, every 6 days, a woman in Canada is killed by her intimate partner. Throughout the course of her life, she has not had to personally become aware of this devastating fact, but nonetheless is mindful that it is a reality for some. The heartbreak of such realism hurts her to the core, and she is bewildered that not many others care to distinguish such a plain matter of fact. Do they know that such abuse comes in many forms, such as physical, sexual, emotional, verbal, financial, spiritual, criminal harassment, and stalking? Her mental query is, why does this continue to be an ongoing issue within our society? She is aware and considers that some might ask the question, why doesn't the woman just leave the relationship? They must realize that it is not as easy as one might think. The partner will, more than likely, have threatened the woman's and or her children's lives if she were to indeed leave. One's personal preservation, combined with the preservation of her children, becomes vital to the continuous survival instinct to live at all cost, because women are 3 to 4 times as likely to be killed by their spouse. In 25% of instances in which murder was committed by the spouse, the woman had left her partner. She wishes that they would understand and empathize with the fact that some women are so trapped in the belief enforced by society that family comes first, meaning a mother and a father and the children are more important to their survival and acceptance than the abuse that happens habitually. They don't know any other way. She recognizes that the woman is left living within her own little hell and has this significant and glaringly true fact staring her in the face. Domestic abuse is often a gradual process, with the frequency of assaults and seriousness of the violence slowly escalating over time. Since her abuser often expresses deep remorse and promise to change, it can take years for her to admit that the violence will never stop, and the relationship is unsalvageable, making it more difficult to believe she deserves better and that she can find the courage to leave or can manage on her own. She would like to remind them that a woman is beautiful, wonderful, sensual, loving, caring, tender, giving, intuitive, intelligent, passionate, and perceptive, and a leader and a healer, amongst many other things that one might decide to label a woman. Women deserve much more from people in society. They are the ones who bring life and color and love and compassion and courage to our world. Knowing the beauty that women possess within their hearts, minds, and souls, and what they do offer to the world, her thoughts begin to flow toward how violence against women happens in all cultures and within all ethnicities and to all ages of women. However, Aboriginal women are more than 8 times more likely to be killed by their intimate partner than non-Aboriginal women. Aboriginal women are 3.5 times more likely to be victims of violence compared to non-Aboriginal women. These facts astonish her and bring a deep sadness to her very core. She cannot understand how a person can justify the murder of or violence against a woman and how Aboriginal women are subjected to such acts at a higher rate than other women. Her heart bleeds for these women and the fear that they must live with. She emphasizes with their uncertainty and how they must constantly be cautious of what they say and who they talk to and with, what they do and where they go. Why must they harbor the feeling of a paralyzing fear that taints the world as dark and dreary and scary, when life can be so beautiful and inviting and loving? She inwardly cries at how they have rarely had the luxury of kindness and tenderness and gentleness and warmth and sensitivity, and most importantly, concern. Concern for their well-being and directed toward them. She envisions, perhaps, if more people were consciously aware that there is more to the story than what is apparent on the surface, and more precisely acknowledge such occurrences, we could collectively take a stand against the oppression that women undergo simply because they are women. She urgently, without a sound, calls upon them, if they know or even think that they know a woman is being abused, and if she is in immediate danger, to call 911, or to seek help from the resources that are available, such as the local women's shelter or sexual assault center. She recognizes that those are not necessary options at times, so she thoughtfully offers to them the suggestion that they would just express to the woman they are there for her, and gracefully points out that one must remember that leaving an abuser can be extremely dangerous. And when the woman believes she can leave the relationship to assist her, shine your light and save her soul. Until that occurs, she knows that we all have it in us to be attentive to another person. Just listen to their struggle and pain and fear and loneliness and heartache. Show them that there is someone there to hear what their heart and mind and soul are presently surviving. She angelically murmurs for them to stifle what their blind minds cannot see, and asks if they would only lend a helping hand and heart and mind to stop the rhythm of abuse that continues to rear its ugly head on so many women. She sends out a voiceless promise that the fire will be a fierce fury of respected passion for those women who have lost their voice, for those women who have become trapped in their cages, for those women who have been led to believe that they do not deserve better, for those women who do not know how to love themselves, and for those women who have been robbed of their self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence. For those women who will live in perpetual fear to preserve their and their children's life. For those women who unknowingly display the living examples of what courage and strength and resilience really look like. For those women who have lost their hidden and unspoken battle, she sends out her compassion and empathy and grace and tenderness and gentleness and kindness and sensitivity and warmth and concern for their well-being. Without a sound, she yearns and appeals to those around her with eyes that discern, a mind that examines, and a heart that feels and loves deeply, and asks, will you join me in this fierce fury of respected passion for those women who have lost their voice? Because she no longer has an unheard voice, She rises and states her voice is your mothers, your sisters, your aunts, and your grandmothers, and your great-grandmothers, and your daughters. She is one and the same as them, and collectively they are saying, we are not alone, we are not next.